click the links for the other channels that are less politically correct than this. Imagine having the name recognition of Star Wars and the visual. This is the art for the Andor Star Wars, which is a prequel series to the Rogue One, which was pretty good, and that was prequel to Star Wars Part 4, A New Hope, came out in 1977, which kicked off George Lucas's Star Wars universe, and then he got mad because his prequels that came out in the late 90s weren't not received as well as they should have been, because they were a little bit too much Jar Jar Binks, and the audience perhaps could have been nicer to him. So he sold out to Disney for $4 billion, and then people thought, oh, well, Disney's going to knock it out of the park. They did not knock it out of the park. In 2015, they made their Disney Star Wars abomination with Rian Johnson and J.J. Abrams. Apps 3 horrible movies, or 4, I guess, because they made Solo, which I guess out of the 4 was actually kind of okay. Except that the Han Solo and the Lando Calrissian characters in real life are tall, and in the movies are short. And I know that seems like a petty difference, but it's like framing and verisimilitude, where if the original actor is 6'2", you got to replace him with someone who's the same height. It's how the actors are framed in doorways and against objects. It feels different. Like when actors are cast short, that codes for youth. And sometimes they do that, but you don't want to do that in a series that continues when the actor's 5'8", and it's like, well now he's aging into the role. He's not going to magically get taller. You're better off just starting with an actor that's over 6 foot to fill the role. Anyway, Star Wars was, people thought Disney was going to slam it out of the park because they were just coming off the success of Pirates of the Caribbean, which is a fantastic movie, which I think came out in like 2003. I think they did two movies that were great, and then they did like 5, which were just okay, but they were good enough. And it's like, okay, these are great kids movies that adults can enjoy. So they go, oh, Disney Star Wars. They're going to, 2015, this new movie. It's like, wait, Daisy Ridley, it's like a chick in the lead role? That's kind of weird. And then they go to the theater and see this thing and like, oh, what happened to Disney? Well, woke happened to Disney. So this is why kind of Hollywood in general sucks now, because they don't care about taking that Star Wars name recognition and capitalizing on it to give the Generation X, I think was the Star Wars generation, and their kids and grandkids, and carry them on into future fans of Star Wars. They decided to throw that all away in the name of making woke, social, re-engineering, globalist, diverse propaganda, which is all of Hollywood lately. And I've been watching movies over the past 2 or 3 weeks to try to see where Hollywood is. And it's the last I saw with Madam Web and Doctor Strange Part 2 and Tron Ares and then Tron Legacy. And then I went back and watched the original 82 Tron, which was the first 2 Tron were pretty good. But the more recent Hollywood endeavors have not been good. So the Andor creator is triggered by the lawfully elected president, elected 3 times, really, if you want to be honest, though you used to not be able to say that on YouTube. They kick you off, or if you talked about the Wu flu and talked about the scientific method, they would give you a strike and remove that video, as I found out. And they think he's a dictator who is deporting people back to their homelands so they can improve their homelands and make it great again. I mean, he's really doing them the favor, but it's also, so he's a far right fascist dictator, right, but you're publicly using your name and face, and you're talking about this openly online about him and his executive branch and all these these politicians. So why aren't there disappearing hit squads to take you to the gulags? He's not a very successful dictator if you're able to say this with your company name. There are no consequences for the left. That's why the Charlie Kirk thing, when they were saying the most mask off sociopathic stuff about a father and husband who was assassinated on stage, and they were dancing and celebrating about it. It's like when they celebrate abortion stuff, even people who are pro abortion look at that and then you feel this queasy, sick feeling you're dealing with people who are not on the same page with you, to not have that reverence for life, to understand okay, you might have to do this, or you feel you have to do this, but there should be some respect, some reverence for the sanctity of life. And it's no, we're kind of slippering into this Canadian healthcare type of mindset where everything has a dollar value. Anyway, I don't know where I was going with that. Deporting people actually helps the third world. So they can, they can fix it. And that was a theme in Madam Web, where one of the little spider girls, there was a black Mexican and Sydney Sweeney, but the Mexican, her dad got deported or something, and like I don't want to go back to wherever Latin American country, I presume. It's like, why not exactly? It's like, that's where you're from, it's your homeland. It's like, your dad has to go back home. Why wouldn't you just go with him? You're not going to another dimension. You're going to your home country. You're not going to hell. You're just like, you're going back to wherever. But they made it sound like, oh, it's better to stay on your own in America. It's like, wow, what a great country that the white gods have created for you. Anyway, these virtue signaling boomers, absolute useless twats that they are. And the white pill to this is, in 5 years, I think we're going to be able to start replacing Hollywood with homemade movies. Hopefully using CGI, where you can film, at least using, I think you got to use human actors, but you take a living room with hallways and doorways and a garage and whatnot, like a basic setting where you can have right angles to film, and you can use AI and CGI to paint the backgrounds. Like, you don't actually need physical green screens anymore, where I think you're going to see people making movies out of their living room, like a Clerks type of budget for, like less than $50,000. Anyway, so these people feel for a little need of virtue signaling, and that's all that these boomer protests are, because they have zero messaging. They have a list of suggested signs for people to make at home, and it's all kind of meaningless platitudes, because they're fighting against a monarchy that literally doesn't exist. So they're fighting a straw man. It's 1776, like George Washington. And apparently there's a new George Washington movie coming out. It might be Mel Gibson. Would probably be the only one in Hollywood who would want to do a movie like that. But that was the last time we had a monarchy, which 200 plus years ago. So he says democracy is up for grabs, and this is the globalist framing where they refuse to refer to the republic as the republic it is. I mean, what is it, a constitutionally representative republic? The thing is, grammatically, I don't think it makes sense to say a democracy is up for grabs. The framing of that is weird, but a republic makes you think of the people. It's not just that republic is Republican and democracy, Democrats, the R and D. That's like the surface level approach. But I think a republic, you're thinking of a group of people, Greeks or Romans or something. You're thinking of the nation, the natale. Of democracy is an entirely different. Things are coded differently. So first of all, Andor is part of the Disney crap Star Wars universe, where everything Disney does has been garbage lately, but it doesn't stop. And this is like, we're talking like 10 years of garbage, because 2015 was kind of when they pulled the trigger on the first Disney Star Wars. I don't even remember the name of it. All I remember is Daisy Ridley was in it. Every show is the latest collection of woke cliches about 40-year-old single cat ladies, and they've got, black trans lesbian wife saving the galaxy, and, my two dads kind of thing, where they buy catamites and whatnot. It's like, family-friendly Disney, what happened to that? It's like, buddy, the 80s and 90s were a long time ago, and that was kind of the end of family-friendly Disney. In fact, Disney, over the past year, has had their biggest record of underperforming movies, and I've been watching movies this past month, because I saw the 16 millimeter Star Wars, New Hope, and Empire, and it occurred to me that 16 millimeters has been reduced from the original 35 millimeters, I think, and sometimes they upscale it to 70, though I don't know how you increase resolution on film. But anyway, it looked good because 16 millimeter is a little bit blurry, a little bit grainy. I mean, it's sharp, but it's not as sharp as 35 millimeter film, which when filmed under bright lights with low ISO can be very sharp. But it's not. It doesn't have that hyper reality feeling of when they film with modern 8K lenses and sensors that are like 7,000 lines of resolution and 120 frames per second, where things look more real than real. Things are too sharp, right angles are too perfect. And that was kind of the problem of the Disney Star Wars, because CGI wasn't there yet, where every angle was perfect. The perspective was slightly off. It's like you knew they were doing green screen for everything, and they were. It's like everything just felt like you would have been better off with practical effects, even though it was only like not even 20 years after the last Star Wars. Anyway, I saw Doctor Strange Part 2, and that was about some, I think, lesbian Mexicans and black and girl power, and then Madam Web, which had the illegal Mexican girl storyline, and there was some black girl, and then there was like the South American Spider-Man, who was the bad guy. Honestly, not as bad a movie as I thought it was going to be. I thought, like, I watched the movie last night. I thought, oh, this is kind of female coded. I'm surprised women didn't go for this in bigger numbers, because the lead role character, who was in the 50 Shades of Grey movie, did a really good job. I thought Sydney Sweeney was going to be, for some reason, the name recognition, I thought she was going to be the lead actor, but it was this 50 Shades lady, and she did a fine job. It just wasn't a movie for everyone. So anyway, so when they cast the role of a Latin American guy as the bad guy, what they did is they find the lightest skin actor they could possibly find to play the role. Otherwise, they get complaints. And then I saw Tron's Ares and Legacy and the original '82 Tron. And Tron Ares was, I guess, bad enough that Disney is talking about just putting the franchise on the shelf when they should be coming up with a fourth movie. But it was about Tron Ares had like a black female main character who was the bad girl who killed a blonde woman who was supposed to be like Elon Musk's wife or mother or something, or Zuckerberg's mom or something like that. And then she was chasing after this Chinese lady to delete her, who was a 42-year-old chubby Chinese lady, and she's the lead actress in a movie that cost $200 million. So it's a black female and a Chinese female are your lead actors, and they're not, neither one of them's drop dead gorgeous. Like Tron Legacy did have some diversity in it. They had like 4 girls, but they were all like super thin model, perfect cheekbones, just futuristic Blade Runner type of vibe. Tron Ares was not that, which is why it's not doing too well. People don't care about diversity anymore. That ship definitely sailed. So Disney keeps making shows that people have been ignoring. I think the Scarlet Witch has done pretty well, but that was about it. Take Andor and just list the protagonist and antagonist and describe to me what each group looks like, and then go through it and start listing the woke lectures about Hollywood like they're fascist dog whistles or something. And at this point, people are kind of now on the Emperor's side, and they know that Vader did nothing wrong. I mean, those kids were going to grow up to be terrorists. And sometimes you got to break some eggs if you want to crush the Rebel Alliance. It's war. Anyway, so the first season of The Mando was their chance to turn Star Wars around, and then they fired Gina Carano because they're a bunch of lispy. Anyway, so this is why so much of everything coming out of Hollywood has been completely unwatchable, because the director and the producers are globalist parasites. Their entire religion is this worldview of where they live in an insane echo chamber of gated estates and limos, and they're not in the real world. And it's to the point where they're so far removed from real people that they can't make movies that are connecting to people, where apparently even a hit movie like Superman is a hit while losing something like $40 million in the theater. And they go, oh, well, don't worry about it. It'll make money on streaming and Blu-ray sales if they still sell physical media. But movies used to make money in the theater, especially with a movie with the name recognition of Superman, which is, Warner Brother DC. Or Star Wars. Like that name recognition, they did the hard work for you 50 years ago in the 70s. They already set the stage for you. Everyone knows Star Wars and Superman. It's crazy that you can't capitalize on it. No. We're going to race swap everything and make it woke. But that's not the original show. You're making something else. Your Rings of Power in it. Like Rings of Power is like they're going to turn that into a verb, I guess, to talk about wokeifying something. Like, you took Lord of the Rings. This is the biggest fantasy name recognition on the planet. Yeah, that's right. And you screwed it up. You goddamn right we did. Unbelievable. I mean, they started that with The Hobbit, which they inserted like interspecies erotica in The Hobbit when they had a dwarf and an elf relationship, and then they had a POC diversity hire who was like in the crowd of this old English village. I thought that was very strange at the time. Anyway, like, comment, subscribe, and see you guys on the next episode.